I just want to. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari, Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana, Yamuna Tira Manachari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari, Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana, Yamuna Tira Manachari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Vihari, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Okay, now we are going to go to the prayers. We will go, and I'm going to share the screen like how Prabhuji. Just give me a second. Introduction. Share screen. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunadhanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamsya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanshyakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृन्द। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्राये स्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। Hare Krishna. So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 11th chapter, 16-17 verse together. I'll read. निशम्यपेष्टम् आयन्तं वासुदेवो महामानः अक्रूरश्चोग्रसेनश्च रमश्चाद्भुतविक्रमः प्रद्युम्नश्चारुदेष्णश्च साम्बोजाम्बवती सुतः प्रहरावेगोश्च सिता सायनासनभोजनः निशम्य प्रेष्ठम् आयन्तं वासुदेवो महामानः अक्रूरचोग्रसेनश्च रामश्चाद्भुतविक्रमः प्रद्युम्नश्चारुदेष्णश्च साम्भोजाम्बवती श्रुतः प्रहर्षा वेगोश्चाश्चिता शयनासनभोजनः निशम्य प्रेष्ठम् आयन्तं वासुदेवो महामनः अक्रूरश्चोग्रसेनश्च रामश्चाद्भुतविक्रमः प्रद्युम्नश्चारुदेष्णश्च सम्भोजाम्बवती सुतः प्रहर्षवेगोच्छ्वासिता शयनासनभोजनः. Anyone want to repeat the verses?
Hare Krishna Mataji, I'll try.
Okay.
Nishamya Preshtam Ayantam Vasudeva Mana Mahamana Akrura cha Ugrasenascha Ramascha Adbhuta Vikrama Pradyumna charu deshna cha Samba Jambavati Sutaha Praharsha Vega Uchasita Sayana Asana Bhojana. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. I think Narottam Vilas Prabhu is busy. So we will go to the synonyms. Nisamya, just hearing. Preshtam, the dearmost. Ayantam, coming home. Vasudeva, the father of Krishna. Mahamanaha, the magnanimous. Akrura, Cha, and Ugrasena, Cha, and Ramaha, Balarama, the elder brother of Krishna. Cha, and Adbhuta, superhuman. Vikramaha, prowess. Prajumna, Charudeshna, Cha, and Samba, Jambavati Sutaha, the son of Jambavati. Praharsha, extreme happiness. Vega, force. Uchchashita, being influenced by. Sayana, lying down. Asana, sitting on. Bhojanaha, dining. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. On hearing that the most dear Krishna was approaching Dwaraka Dhama, magnanimous Vasudeva, Akrura, Ugrasena, Balarama, the supremely, superhumanly powerful Prajumna, Charudeshna, and Samba, the son of Jambavati, all extremely happy, abandoning resting, sitting, and dining. Purport Vasudeva, son of King son of King Surasena, husband of Devaki, and the father of Lord Sri Krishna. He is a brother of Kunti and father of Subhadra. Subhadra was married with her son Vasudeva. He is Vasudeva. Subhadra was married with her cousin Arjuna, and this system is still prevalent in some parts of India. Vasudeva was appointed minister of Ugrasena, and later on he married 8 daughters of Ugrasena's brother Devaka. Devaki is only one of them. Kamsa was his brother in law, and Vasudeva accepted voluntarily imprisonment by Kamsa on mutual agreement to deliver the eighth son of Devaki. This was foiled by the will of Krishna. As maternal uncle of the Pandavas, he took active parts in the purificatory process of the Pandavas. He sent for the priest Kasyapa at Satashranga Parvata and he executed the functions. When Krishna appeared within the bars of Kamsa's prison house, he was transferred by Vasudeva to the house of Nanda Maharaja, the foster father of Krishna at Gokula. Krishna disappeared along with Baladeva prior to the disappearance of Vasudeva, and Arjuna, Vasudeva's nephew, undertook the charge of the funeral ceremony after Vasudeva's disappearance. Akrura, the commander in chief of the Vishnu dynasty and a great devotee of Lord Krishna. Akrura attained success in devotional service to the Lord by one single process of offering prayers. He was the husband of Sutani, daughter of Ahuka. He supported Arjuna when Arjuna took Subhadra forcibly away by the will of Krishna. Both Krishna and Akrura went to see Arjuna after his successful kidnapping of Subhadra. Both of them presented dowries to Arjuna after this incident. Akrura was present also when Abhimanyu, the son of Subhadra, was married with Uttara, mother of Maharaja Parikshit. Ahuka, the father-in-law of Akrura, was not in a good terms with Akrura, but both of them were devotees of the Lord. Ugrasena, one of the powerful kings of the Vishnu dynasty and the cousin of Maharaja Kunti Bhoja. His other name is Ahuka. His minister was Vasudeva, and his son was a powerful Kamsa. This Kamsa imprisoned his father and became the king of Madura. By the grace of Lord Krishna and his brother Lord Baladeva, Kamsa was killed and Ugrasena was reinstalled on the throne. When Salva attacked the city of Dwaraka, Ugrasena fought very valiantly and repulsed the enemy. Ugrasena inquired from Naradaji about the divinity of Lord Sri Krishna. When the Edu dynasty was to be vanquished, Ugrasena was entrusted with the iron lump produced from the womb of Samba. He cut the iron lump into pieces and then pasted it and mixed it with a sea water on the coast of Dwaraka. After this, he ordered complete prohibition within the city of Dwaraka and the kingdom. He got salvation after his death. I would like somebody to read if you're okay. Vinil Prabhu, would you want to continue about Lord Baladeva?
Sure, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Baladeva, he is the divine son of Vasudeva by his wife Rohini. He is also known as Rohini Nandana, the beloved son of Rohini. He was also entrusted to Nanda Maharaj along with his mother, Rohini. When Vasudeva embraced imprisonment by mutual agreement with Kamsa, so Nanda Maharaj is also the foster father of Baladeva along with Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna and Lord Baladeva were constant companions from their very childhood, although they were stepbrothers. He is the plenary manifestation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore he is as good and powerful as Lord Krishna. He belongs to the Vishnu Tattva, the principle of Godhead. He attended the Swayamvara ceremony of Draupadi along with Sri Krishna. When Subhadra was kidnapped by Arjuna by the organized plan of Sri Krishna, Baladeva was very angry with Arjuna and wanted to kill him at once. Sri Krishna, for the sake of his dear friend, fell at the feet of Lord Baladeva and implored him not to be so angry. Sri Baladeva was thus satisfied. Similarly, he was once very angry with the Kauravas and he wanted to throw their whole city into the depths of the Yamuna. But the Kauravas satisfied him by surrendering onto his divine lotus feet. He was actually the seventh son of Devaki prior to the birth of Lord Krishna. But by the will of the Lord, he was transferred to the womb of Rohini to escape the wrath of Kamsa. His other name is therefore Sankarshana, who is also the plenary portion of Sri Baladeva. Because he is as powerful as Lord Krishna and can bestow spiritual power to the devotees, he is therefore known as Baladeva. In the Vedas, also it is enjoined that no one can know the Supreme Lord without being favored by Baladeva. Bala means spiritual strength, not physical. Some less intelligent persons interpret Bala as the strength of the body. But no one can have spiritual realization by physical strength. Physical strength ends with the end of the physical body, but spiritual strength follows the spirit soul to the next transmigration. And therefore, the strength obtained by Baladeva is never wasted. The strength is eternal, and thus Baladeva is the original spiritual master of all devotees. Want me to continue, Mataji?
Just finish up this paragraph. Prabhu.
Yeah, sure, Mataji. Sri Baladeva was also a class friend of Lord Sri Krishna as a student of Sandipa Muni. In his childhood, he killed many asuras along with Sri Krishna, and specifically, he killed Denakasura at Talavana. During the Kurukshetra battle, he remained neutral and he tried his best not to bring about the fight. He was in favor of Duryodhana, but still he remained neutral. When there was a club fight between Duryodhana and Bhimasena, he was present on the spot. He was angry at Bhimasena when the latter struck Duryodhana on the thigh or below the belt, and he wanted to retaliate the unfair action. Lord Sri Krishna saved Bhima from his wrath, but he left the place at once. Being disgusted at Bhimasena, and after his departure, Duryodhana fell to the ground to meet his death. The funeral ceremony of Abhimanyu, the son of Arjuna, was performed by him, as he was the maternal uncle. It was impossible to be performed by any one of the Pandavas, who were all overwhelmed with grief. At the last stage, he departed from this world by producing a great white snake from his mouth, and thus he was carried by Sheshanaga in the shape of a serpent. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Vinay Prabhu. Neelam Mataji, could you read next? Neelam Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, which one? Sorry, my computer went a little bit. Is it?
Pradyumna, you could see my screen?
Yes, yeah, I could see yours.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Pradyumna.
Pradyumna, incarnation of Kamadeva. Wait, hold on. Incarnation of Kamadeva. According to the other incarnation of Sant Kumar, born as the son of the personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, Lakshmi Devi, Srimati Rukmani, the principal queen of Dwarika. He was one of those who went to congratulate Arjuna upon his marrying Subhadra. He was one of the great generals who fought with Selva, and while fighting with him, he became unconscious on the battlefield. His charioteer brought him back to the camp from the battlefield, and for this action he was very sorry and rebuked his charioteer. However, he fought again with Selva and was victorious. He heard all about the different demigods from Narada Ji. He is one of our four plenary expansions of Lord Shri Krishna. He is the third one. He inquired from his father Shri Krishna about the glories of the Brahmanas during the, what is that, Fratricida war against the descendants of the Yadu. He died at the hand of Bhoja, another king of the Vrishnis. After his death, he was installed in his original position. And then Chandrasena, another lord of Sri Krishna and Rukmani Devi, he was also present during the Swayamvara ceremony of the Draupadi. He was a great warrior like his brothers and his father, and fought for Vinidhaka and killed him in the fight.
You want to continue, Mataji? Samba? You want to finish off?
Okay, Samba, one of the great heroes of the Yadu dynasty and the son of Lord Shri Krishna by his wife Jammavati, he learned the military art of throwing arrows from Arjuna, and he became the member of the parliament during the time of the Maharaj Yudhishthir. He was present during the Raja Surya Yajna and Maharaj Yudhishthir, when all the Rishnis were assembled during the time of Prabhasaya Arjuna, his glorious activities were narrated by Satyaki before Lord Baladeva. He was also present with his father, Lord Shri Krishna, during the Ashwamedh yajna performed by Yudhishthir. He was presented before some rishis, falsely dressed as a pregnant woman by his brothers, and in fun he asked the rishis what he was going to deliver. The rishis replied that he would deliver a lump of iron, which would be the cause of fratricial war in the family of Yadu. The next day, in the morning, Samba delivered a large lump of iron, which was entrusted to Ugrasena for necessary action. Actually, later on, there was the foretold, well, same word, for war, and Samba died in the war.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much. So all the sons of Lord Krishna left their respective places and leaving aside all engagements, including lying down, sitting, and dining, hastened towards their exalted father. So everything, so much of information is given in the purport itself by Srila Prabhupada. So I was not understanding because what to actually discuss also, because it's such a large purport, and there are different characters are given who are very, very exalted, elevated characters. And so I was just contemplating what I should share today, because almost so much of knowledge has been given in the Srila Prabhupada's purports. All the details, almost all the details of each and every character is given in the purport itself. So I was just contemplating what I should share. So I was just there, then I got an idea, thinking that the first sentence of translation, on hearing that the most dear Krishna was approaching Dwarkadhama, magnanimous Vasudeva Akrura. So these are all magnanimous in character, basically. So what is their magnanimity? How do we understand their magnanimous qualities? So I was just focusing on that and taking each and every character, how they have possessed all the magnanimous qualities. Why do they have in fact become magnanimous? This Vasudeva, Akrura, Ugrasena, Balaram. Balaram is none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the supremely powerful, who is a the original spiritual master for all of us, and who gives us a lot of spiritual strength. So and then Prajumna, Charudeshna, and Shamba, the son of John. These are all sons of Krishna. How virtuous are of sons of Krishna, right? Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, and their children are also so much virtuous. They look alike, like they just look like Krishna only. Even what to speak, actually Uddhava, who is a cousin brother of Lord Krishna, looks just like Krishna only. What to speak of Krishna's sons, right? They are very beautiful. So all these what the names mentioned here, they are all very, very exalted, elevated personalities who assisted Krishna in his pastimes when he appeared on this earth, and they are so much elevated, and they have so many good qualities. So what I feel, right, we take each character, how much ever the time supports us. Vasudeva. Vasudeva is the father of Lord Krishna, right? And he is so exalted personality, because we can recognize his qualities of intellect, and he's very, very convincing. He's very, very sober person, basically, and tolerant, a lot of patience, and intelligent, and he knows how to deal with people. He's so diplomatic. How we can understand his qualities, because if we could be able to see the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, first chapter itself, when he was trying to convince Kamsa, who was about to kill Vasudeva's wife, and also as well as Kamsa's cousin sister. So I want you to all take you to that yatra, Now, how do we understand Vasudeva's magnanimity, the character of magnanimity? We can just go there and see. So what happens actually, Vasudeva gets married to Devaki, right? So Kamsa, who is the cousin brother of Devaki, he was actually driving the chariot, and they sat in the chariot, and he was just driving, and then suddenly some Akashvani enters into between, and she tells that. Kamsa, what are you doing? You're so ignorant. Actually, Devaki's eighth son is the one who is going to kill you. So immediately after, listening to that Kamsa, here Kamsa was a condemned personality in the Bhoja dynasty because he was envious and sinful. Therefore, upon hearing this omen from the sky, he caught hold of his sister's hair with his left hand and took up his sword and with his right hand to sever her head from her body. So it's this much of cruelty here just by listening to that one sentence. He got so much enraged, and he is such a cruel person that he didn't hesitate to kill even his own cousin sister Devaki. Such an auspicious event, he wanted to kill her basically. So how Vasudeva pacified him? By seeing that example, we can understand the magnanimous quality of Vasudeva. Wanting to pacify Kamsa, who was so cruel and envious that he was shamelessly ready to kill his sister, the great soul Vasudeva, who was to be the father of Krishna, spoke to him in the following words. This purport is very important. Only one purport we read. Vasudeva, who was to be the father of Krishna, is described here as Mahabhaga, a very upright and sober personality. Because although Kamsa was ready to kill Vasudeva's wife, Vasudeva remained sober and unagitated. See, this is what we have to learn actually. We get agitated very fast, right? At least I get agitated, when a situation comes, I will be peaceful all the time, but when certain situations comes in my life, I am the one who actually first gets irritated or agitated. So what is the situation here? Actually, Kamsa is about to kill Vasudeva's newly wedded wife. So how can a person be tolerant at the situation, right? How can a person be sober and unagitated? But Vasudeva is not like that. He was actually, tolerating everything without being disturbed. That quality is very, very important. We have to imbibe that quality. I have to at least imbibe that quality. In a peaceful attitude, how can one be peaceful, right? If the situation is that much dangerous, but he is peaceful. Vasudeva began to address Kamsa by putting forward reasonable arguments. How many persons could talk, in that convincing way when a person is put in a very dangerous, threatening condition, right? That is what we have to think about. That how many people could do that, but Vasudeva could be able to do that. That is what is magnanimity. It is said here. Vasudeva was a great personality because he knew how to pacify a cruel person and how to forgive even the bitterest enemy. This is another quality. So many things we can learn from Vasudeva himself. Forgiveness is very, very tough. Basically, if somebody does little bit harm to us, a little bit, say one sentence which really, bothers us, immediately we think that they're our enemies, right? We cannot even forgive them. Basically, we hold up that thing for a very, very long time. At least I do that in my life. I have so many lessons to learn from this particular verse basically. So one has to forgive. That's what it is mentioned here. Vasudeva, how is it possible, right? One who is fortunate is never caught even by tigers or snakes. See, one should be fortunate enough to control ourselves. Even though tigers or snakes, they come and caught us, actually, they will be very, very, consistent in their behaviors. They don't, get agitated basically. Vasudeva said, my dear brother-in-law Kamsa, you, 37, right? Yeah, 37, okay. My dear brother-in-law Kamsa, you are pride of your family, the Bhoja dynasty, and great heroes praise your qualities. How could such a qualified person as you kill a woman, your own sister, especially on the occasion of her marriage? See how the convincing way of Vasudeva. So after that, he teaches him so many things. I'm not going to go to that. We'll go to the 45 verse. He tells about so many body and soul, and so many teachings were given by Vasudeva. They are very, very beautiful. Because we don't have time to discuss all those things, I'm going to the straight 45 verse. 45, yeah. So here, as finally, after giving him lots and lots of teachings, he says, as your younger sister, this poor girl Devaki is like your own daughter and deserves to be affectionately maintained. You are merciful, and therefore you should not kill her. Indeed, she deserves your affection. Sukadeva Goswami continued. So now, when Vasudeva saw that Kamsa was determined to kill his sister Devaki, he thought to himself very deeply. Considering the imminent danger of death, he thought of another plan to stop Kamsa. Although Vasudeva saw the imminent danger that his wife Devaki would be killed, he was convinced of his welfare because at his birth, the demigods had played drums and kettle drums. He therefore attempted another way to save Devaki. 47, 49, we can go to 49. Yeah. Vasudeva considered, by delivering all my sons to Kamsa, who is death personified, I shall save the life of Devaki. Perhaps Kamsa will die before my sons take birth, or since he is already destined to die at the hands of my son, one of my sons may kill him. For the time being, let me promise to hand over my sons so that Kamsa will give up that immediate threat. And if in due course of time Kamsa dies, I shall have nothing to fear. He was just making plans, he is very, very intelligent person, basically. 52. After this, considering the matter as far as his knowledge would allow, Vasudeva submitted his proposal to the sinful Kamsa with great respect. Just a minute. Vasudeva's mind was full of anxiety because his wife was facing danger, but in order to please the cruel, shameless and simple Kamsa, he externally smiled and spoke to him as follows. Sometimes one must duplicitously in a dangerous position, as Vasudeva did to save his wife. I'm not going to. Vasudeva did everything possible to save his wife for the sake of begetting Krishna. This indicates that one may be duplicitously for the purpose of saving Krishna and his interests. Okay, so I'm going to the 54 verse. Vasudeva said, "O best of the sober, you have nothing to fear from your sister Devaki because of what you have heard from the unseen woman. The cause of death will be her sons. Therefore, I promise that when she gives birth to the sons from whom your fear has arisen, I shall deliver them all onto your hands." That's what Vasudeva said. And the last verse I'm reading. Kamsa agreed to the logical arguments of Vasudeva, and having full faith in Vasudeva's words, he refrained from killing his sister. Vasudeva, being pleased with Kamsa, pacified him further and entrusted his own house. Although Kamsa was a sinful demon, he believed that Vasudeva would never deviate from his words. See, the greatness of Vasudeva is mentioned in this purport. The character of a pure devotee like Vasudeva is such that even so great a demon as Kamsa firmly believed in his words and was satisfied. How could even Kamsa believe him, right? He's such a cruel personality, right? But it's because of character of Vasudeva. He's like that. He's very, very truthful. And once he promises, he just keeps that promise up. So yashasti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana sarver gunesh tatra samaste shuraha. All good attributes are present in a devotee, so much so that even Kamsa believed in Vasudeva's words without a doubt. So this is the great character of Vasudeva, and we can just meditate on the qualities of Vasudeva so that we can imbibe those qualities: forgiveness, tolerance, compassion. He's actually compassion. He's so compassionate and Kamsa for his behavior. So many qualities, right? He's very sober. He's not agitated. So all these qualities we can actually meditate on this. So next character we could see is Akrura, a very, very great character, basically, Akrura, who is Akrura? 1 minute, I just go to that. Yeah, this one actually. where we have read about Akrura already. Akrura is such a great personality. He is a great devotee of Lord Krishna, basically. So when Kamsa, when he knows that Krishna and Balarama were there in Vrindavan, finally he came to know that they were in Vrindavan. He was searching for Krishna, right? And so he has sent Akrura to bring Kamsa, because Akrura is, even though he's a relative of Lord Krishna, he's working in the ministry of Kamsa. So Kamsa thought Akrura was the right person, to send to Madura to bring back Krishna and Balarama. So he had a plan. He wanted to kill Krishna and Balarama in Madura. So he has sent Akrura. Because he thought, okay, if Akrura is going, then because he's a devotee of Krishna and also he's a relative, so Krishna naturally says okay to that. So then Akrura goes. So how do we understand the mood of Akrura? Suppose we are actually praying to Krishna every day, right? So suppose, just think that if we are going to get an opportunity to meet Krishna in our lives, so what should be our meditation on that? So Akrura is really a role model for that. While he was actually traveling from Madura to Vrindavan, he was actually meditating how he's going to meet Krishna. After his meeting with Krishna, what Krishna is going to do, and how I'm actually, seeing them, both of them, what is their reciprocation, and how I show my bhakti. All these things are very, very beautiful. So we are going to see that actually, so that we can aspire for that, basically. Even though Krishna is not coming in front of us right now, we are not going to meet him but we can always meditate on that, so that one day maybe Krishna will give an opportunity, give us an opportunity to meet with him. So after passing the night in the city of Madura, the high-minded Akrura mounted his chariot and set off for the covered village of Nanda Maharaj. As he traveled on the road, the great soul Akrura felt tremendous devotion for the lotus-eyed personality of Godhead, and this he began to consider as follows. See, this was the meditation he started throughout the way he was traveling. What pious deeds have I done? What severe austerities undergone? What worship performed or charity given, so that today I will see Lord Keshava? Since I am a materialistic person, absorbed simply in sense gratification, I think it is very difficult for me to have gotten this opportunity to see Lord Uttama Sloka, as it would be for one born a Sudra to be allowed to recite the Vedic mantras. So he's thinking, he's just giving an analogy, he's comparing himself, I'm a materialistic person. How did even I get opportunity, just like a Sudra who is born in the Sudra Kula or Sudra, when he is allowed to recite Vedic mantras, how much happiness he feels, right? In the same way, I am also feeling so much of happiness because I'm a materialistic person, but still I got an opportunity to meet with Uttama Sloka. But enough of such thoughts. After all, even a fallen soul like me can have the chance to behold the infallible Supreme Lord. For one of the conditioned souls being swept along in the river of time may sometimes reach the shore. Just a minute. Um, Today, all my sinful reactions have been eradicated and my birth has become worthwhile, since I will offer my obeisances to the Supreme Lord's lotus feet, which mystic yogis meditate upon. Indeed, today King Kamsa has shown me extreme mercy by sending me to see the lotus feet of Lord Hari, who was now appeared in this world. Simply by the effulgence of his toenails, many souls in the past have transcended this insurmountable darkness of material existence and achieved liberation. Those lotus feet are worshipped by Brahma, Shiva, and all the other demigods, by the goddess of fortune, and also by the great sages and Vaishnavas. Upon those lotus feet, the Lord walks about the forest while herding the cows with his companions, and those feet are smeared with the kumkum from the gopis' breaths. Surely I shall see the face of Lord Mukunda, since the deer are now walking past on me right. That face, framed by his curly hair, is beautified by his attractive cheeks and nose, his smiling glances, and his reddish lotus eyes. I am going to see the Supreme Lord Vishnu, the reservoir of all beauty, who by his own sweet will has now assumed a human-like form to relieve the earth of her burden. Thus, there is no denying that my eyes will achieve the perfection of their existence. All sins are destroyed, and all good fortune is created by the Supreme Lord's qualities, activities, and appearances. And words that describe these three things animate, beautify, and purify the world. On the other hand, words bereft of his glories are like the decorations on a corpse. The same Supreme Lord has descended into the dynasty of Sarpatas to delight the exalted demigods who maintain the principles of religion he has created. Residing in Vrindavana, he spreads his fame, which the demigods glorify in song and which brings auspiciousness to all. Today, I shall certainly see him. So he was completely focusing on seeing the Lord, the goal and spiritual master of the great soul. Seeing him brings jubilation to all who have eyes, for he is the true beauty of the universe. Indeed, his personal form is the shelter desired by the goddess of fortune. Now all the dawns of my love have become auspicious. Then I will at once alight from my chariot and bow down. He was actually imagining when he sees the Lord, he's thinking that I will at once alight from my chariot and bow down to the lotus feet of Krishna and Balarama, the supreme personalities of Godhead. Theirs are the same feet that great mystic yogis striving for self-realization bear within their minds. I will also offer my obeisances unto the Lord's covered boyfriends and to all the other residents of Vrindavan. And when I have fallen at his feet, the Almighty Lord will place his lotus hand upon my head. For those who seek shelter in him, because they are greatly disturbed by the powerful serpent of time, that hand removes all fear. By offering charity to the lotus hand, Purandara and Bali earned the status of Indra, king of heaven. And during the pleasure pastimes of Rasa dance, when the Lord wiped away the gopis' perspiration and removed their fatigue, the touch of their faces made that hand as fragrant as sweet flower. The infallible Lord will not consider me as enemy, even though Kamsa had sent me here as his messenger. After all, the omniscient Lord is the actual knower of the field of this material body, and with his perfect vision, he witnesses both externally and internally all the endeavors of the conditioned soul's heart. So he was thinking that, because Kamsa has sent him, he might, think him as his enemy, but he's thinking that Krishna knows everything. Thus, he will cast his smiling, affectionate glance upon me as I remain fixed with my joint forms. Then I will give up all the doubts and feel the most intense bliss. Recognizing me as an intimate friend and relative, Krishna will embrace me with his almighty arms, instantly sanctifying my body and diminishing to nil all my material bondage, which is due to fruitive activities. Having been embraced by all famous Lord Krishna, I will humbly stand before him with bowed head and joined palms, and he will address me, my dear Akrura. At that moment, my life's purpose will be fully fulfilled. Indeed, the life of anyone whom the Supreme Personality fails to recognize is simply pitiable. So he is dreaming about Supreme Lord, a very nice dream actually. The Supreme Lord has no favorite and no dearest friend, nor does he consider anyone undesirable, despicable, or fit to be neglected. He lovingly reciprocates with his devotees in whatever the manner they worship him, just as the trees of heaven fulfill the desires of whoever approaches them. And then Lord Krishna's elder brother, he's talking about Balarama. So in this way, Shukadeva Goswami is saying that the son of Swakalpa, Akrura, traveling on the road, thus meditated deeply on Sri Krishna and reached Gokula as the sun was shining to set. So in the covered pasture, Akrura saw the footprints of those feet, whose pure dust the rulers of all planets in the universe hold on their crowns. The footprints of Lord, distinguished by such marks as the lotus, barley corn, elephant goad, and made the ground wonderfully beautiful. So there are footprints. So he was transcendental Akrura by seeing, just he entered, increasingly agitated by ecstasy at seeing the Lord's footsteps, his bodily hairs standing on end because of his pure love. His eyes filled with tears. Akrura jumped down from his chariot and began rolling about among those footprints, explaining, this is the dust from my master's feet. Imagine how he is happy. So finally, he sees Lord in the, we will read this actually, how, it's a description of Krishna and Balarama when Akrura sees them. in fact sees them directly. Akrura then saw Krishna and Balarama in the village of Raja going to milk the cows. Krishna wore yellow garments, Balarama blue, and their eyes resembled autumnal lotuses. One of those two mighty armed youths, the shelters of the goddess of fortune, had a dark blue complexion, that is Krishna, and the others was white, Balaram. With their fine featured faces, they were the most beautiful of all persons. As they walked with the gait of young elephants, glancing about with compassionate smiles, those two exalted personalities beautified the cow pasture with the impressions of their feet, which bore the marks of the flag, lightning bolt, elephant, goat, and lotus. The two lords whose pastimes are most magnanimous and attractive were ornamented with jeweled necklaces and flower garlands, anointed with auspicious fragrant substances, freshly bathed and dressed in spotless raiment. They were the primeval supreme personalities, the masters and original causes of the universes, who had, for the welfare of the earth, now descended in their distinct forms of Keshava and Balarama. O King Parikshit, they resembled two gold bedecked mountains, one of the emerald and the other of silver. As with their effulgence, they dispel the sky's darkness in all directions. So actually whatever he thought, actually he could do. Actually, Akrura, overwhelmed with affection, quickly jumped from the chariot, fell at the lotus feet of Krishna. Then what did actually Krishna? Recognizing Akrura, Lord Krishna drew him close with his hand, which bears the sign of the chariot wheel, and then embraced him. So his dream came true now, actually. He was dreaming throughout the travel, and finally he would be able to see Krishna and Balaram, and they reciprocated in the same way. Krishna felt pleased, but he is always benignly disposed towards his surrendered devotees. So by this we can learn that even though we are not going to meet Krishna that soon like Akrura, but we can hope for that, and we can always meditate and dream about that. Maybe one day, our dream comes true. We don't know, right? So this is a prayers offered by Akrura, very, very beautiful prayers, in fact, one of the processes of devotional service is, offering prayers. So Akrura is a perfect example. After when he was coming back from Madura also, Krishna, so much pleased with his devotion, he could give him a vision of his Vaikuntha Loka. Krishna gave darshan with all his associates in Vaikuntha Loka. Then again, actually, there were some prayers. There will be some prayers by Akrura. There were some prayers, and those are also very beautiful. Okay. So now, actually, what I'm going to do is, we can talk about a little bit of Balaram. Balaram is none other than actually, a supreme personality of Godhead. So when we take the pastime of Roma Harshana Sutta, we can understand we can learn so many lessons out of that, because the Supreme Lord is actually very, very kind and compassionate. When at times, basically, if somebody offenses the original spiritual master like Baladev, and also the Supreme Lord, then he cannot tolerate. That is the example given in this verse, actually. So this pastime is such that we can just go through the pastime and we can understand the magnanimous qualities of the Supreme Lord Baladeva, how he actually does not tolerate, if somebody offenses the spiritual master, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So basically, here it is a story of Roma Harshana Sutta. Roma Harshana is a very, very puffed up with his knowledge and sastric knowledge and intelligence and everything. So what is the story we can read up here in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 17 verse we can go. Lord Balarama then heard that the Kurus were preparing for the war with the Pandavas. Being neutral, he departed on the pretext of going to bathe in holy places, because this is before the Kurukshetra war. Lord Balarama doesn't want to participate in the war. He wants to become neutral. So he is going for the pilgrimages. Okay. So after bathing at Pravasa and honoring the demigods, sages, forefathers, and prominent human beings, he went in the company of Brahmanas to the portion of the Saraswati that flows westward into the sea. So he went to Saraswati river. Okay. Then he's visiting, actually, and finally he came to Naimisha forest, where great sages were performing an elaborate sacrifice. Recognizing the Lord upon his arrival, the sages who had been engaged in their sacrificial rituals for a very long time, greeted him properly by standing up, bowing down, and worshipping him. Because all the sages were there, there was a yajna going to be performed, and Lord is there, and everybody could be able to recognize the Lord. But what happened in Roma Harshana Suta's case? After being thus worshipped along with entourage, the Lord accepted a seat of honor. Then he noticed that Roma Harshana, Vyasadeva's disciple, had remained seated. He didn't offer him the respectable obeisances. Lord Balarama became extremely angry upon seeing how this member of the Sutta caste has failed to stand up, bow down, or join his palms, and also how he was sitting above all the learned Brahmanas. So, Romaharshana had failed to greet Lord Balarama in any of the standard ways for welcoming a superior personality. Also, despite being of a lower caste, he sat in a seat above the assembly of exalted Brahmanas. Why he said as a lower caste? Because he was a mixed combination of the marriage Brahmana and Kshatriya. So in that case, he's considered as a lower caste. But he didn't even offer, respects to Brahmanas. Lord Balaram said, because this fool born from an improperly mixed marriage sits above all these Brahmanas and even above me, the protector of religion, he deserves to die. So immediately the Supreme Lord got angry because he was Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? So, and he was not respected properly. He was not even given any obeisances from, he didn't get obeisances from Brahma Harshana Sutta. So he's so puffed up. So actually what happened is here, although he is a disciple of the divine sage Vyasa and has thoroughly learned many scriptures from him, including the law books of religious duties and epic histories and Puranas, all this study has not produced good qualities in him. So we have to learn a lesson from this basically. It's not important that we read so many scriptures and understand and gain knowledge. Out of that knowledge, actually, we have to realize, we have to imbibe nice good qualities by reading and by doing all that. Otherwise it's a waste of time. How much ever knowledge even Romaharshana has, but he doesn't even know how to respect his superiors. So the one should not be like that. When we gain knowledge and all that, we should also know about the good qualities of godly persons, and we have to try to cultivate those habits in us also. Rather, his study of the scriptures is like an actor studying his part, for he is not self-controlled or humble. So we have to be self-controlled and we have to be humble, and vainly presumes himself a scholarly authority, though he has failed to conquer his own mind. One might argue that Romaharshana committed an innocent mistake when he failed to recognize Lord Balarama, but such an argument is refuted here by Lord Baladev's strong criticism. Krishna cannot tolerate anything. The very purpose of my descent into this world is to kill such hypocrites who pretend to be this is all Balarama is talking, to kill such hypocrites and who pretend to be religious. Indeed, they are the most sinful rascals. Lord Balarama was not prepared to overlook Romaharshana's offense. The Lord had descended specifically to eliminate those who claim to be great religious leaders but do not even respect the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay. So Lord Balarama had stopped killing the impious. Romaharshana's death was inevitable. This is Sukadeva Goswami saying, because Lord Balarama has stopped actually killing the impious people, but still, by the anger of the Baladeva, Sukadeva Goswami is saying, because actually recognize that he doesn't want to tolerate anymore Romaharshana. So the Lord killed him by picking up a blade of kusha grass and touching him with its tip. So just that Lord had killed Romaharshana Sutta. So here we go. All the sages cried out, alas, alas, in great distress. They told Lord Sankarsana, O Master, you have committed an irreligious act. O favorite of the others, we gave him the seat of his spiritual master and he promised him long life and freedom from physical pain for as long as this sacrifice continues. Although Romaharshana was not a Brahmana, having been born of a mixed marriage, he was invested with that status by the assembled sages and thus given the Brahmasana, the seat of the chief officiating priest. So here, basically, he was not a Brahmana. He was not considered as a Brahmana because he was born to Brahmana and Kshatriya combination of mother and father. But still, actually, he was respected by the sages so much, and he was given in a high position. The Brahmasana was given. Highly elevated seat was given to Romaharshana Sutta. That's what they are saying. And they have made him actually chief appreciating priest. That much of honor they have given him, but actually, Lord Balaram killed him. As a Supreme Lord, actually, we can understand one thing is actually it is there is no scripture it is mentioned that we have killing of Brahmana is not supported in any scripture, but still Balaram did that. Why? Because the Supreme Lord, we can understand that Supreme Lord is Swaraj. He is very independent. He doesn't need to follow any scriptural rules and regulations. The rules and regulations are for us only, not for the Supreme Lord. So whatever Supreme Lord thinks, that is 100% right, because he thought that even though he was given a highly elevated seat, asana, amongst all the in the midst of all the sages, but he was not recognizing the superiority of the Supreme Lord. So that was a big offense committed by Roma Harshana. So the Lord doesn't want to tolerate that offense. And he is teaching a lesson to all of us also, by learning Shastra, we have to imbibe good qualities. Otherwise, it's reading scriptures and all that, gaining knowledge is a waste of time. If we don't have any good qualities, if we are not humble, if he does not respect our superiors, then it's a waste of time. I'm telling this to me only, So he's saying, the sages are saying, you have unknowingly killed a Brahmana. Of course, even the injunctions of real scriptures cannot dictate to you the Lord of. They're saying to the Lord, but in a diplomatic way, because they don't. They know the position of the Supreme Lord. But if by your own free will you nonetheless carry out the prescribed purification for this slaying of a Brahmana, O purifier of the whole world, people in general will greatly benefit by your example. Here, what actually sages are saying, see, because they know the supremacy of Lord Balaram, and they cannot say anything to Lord Balaram. But they just, because the Lord is in the human form of life, he appeared as in the human form. They wanted him to do whatever is needed for the purification. So then how Lord reciprocated, that is more important. If we were in, at least I were in that situation, I would have, said, I would have got angry. Wow, what are you saying, sages? I'm the Supreme Lord. Why do I do all these things? What is the need for me? I'm Swarat, I'm independent, right? I would say that. But here, Lord, how Lord took in a positive way, we will see. The personality of God had said, I will certainly perform the atonement for this killing. See, Lord, he doesn't need to do anything for his atonement, but he's still saying how humble he is. He's showing an example for all of us how to respect the sages, the Brahmanas, so by just, showing his example. Since I wish to show compassion to the people in general, please therefore prescribe for me whatever ritual is to be done first. Also just say the word, and by my mystic power I shall restore everything you promised him: long life, strength, and sensory power. So here Lord Balaram is also telling them that I can bring back Romaharshana's life again. Tell me, you want to do that, you want. But sages, actually, how intelligent they were, now they are actually in dilemma. Why they are in dilemma? If they say that, okay, Supreme Lord, you please bring his life back, then what happens? It seems that they're supporting Romaharshana indirectly, right? By requesting Supreme Lord to get his life back. People consider that they are supporting Romaharshana's behavior, which is not right. When all the sages stood up and offered their obeisances to the Supreme Lord, he is the one who was just sitting. So that is not recommended. Basically, that's not an etiquette, right? If somebody comes, we have to offer our obeisances, but he was not doing that. So sages cannot ask them to bring his life back. So second thing is, if they say don't bring the life of Romaharshana back, then what happens is they are encouraging supporting and that killing a Brahmana, right? So killing Brahmana is also not mentioned in any scriptures. No, we should not kill a Brahmana. That is a very sinful activity. So both the ways actually they are struck. So what did finally they say? Listen, actually, okay, they say. What did they say? Please see to it, O Rama, that your power and that of your Kusha weapon, as well as our promise and Romaharshana's death, all remain intact. So they said, actually, So the Lord finally took a decision. So indirectly they have said that whatever is best for us, you do that. The way then Lord said, the Vedas instruct us that one's own self takes birth again as one son. Thus let Romaharshana's son become the speaker of the Puranas, and let him be endowed with long life, strong senses, and stamina. So whatever the promises sages made to Romaharshana were transferred to his son by the Supreme Lord Baladev. So by his son Sutta Goswami. Sutta Goswami usually is the one who taught Srimad Bhagavatam to Saunaka the Rishis in the Naimisaranya. So he was the son of actually the Romaharshana. So all the benefits were gone to him because the Lord wanted his son to become the speaker of the Puranas and let him be endowed with a long life. So this is what it has happened. So by these past tense, we can understand when the situation comes how the Lord reciprocates. If we see, he has showed an example by surrendering himself to the sages and brahmanas and by accepting atonement for the deeds he has done. In that way, he's respecting and he's showing the example to the world that we have to respect brahmanas and sages, our superiors. And by killing Romaharshana Sutta, he actually showed that when we should learn a lesson that when somebody is superior comes to our house, we have to respect them. It's 9:03, but I have something to share about Lord Balarama. This is the final 4 slokas, and I will stop my session because we have some more characters in that, but we could be able to discuss only 3 characters today, so because of the time. So this is the Lord Balarama's Lord Balarama returned to Naimisaranya, where the sages joyfully engaged him, the embodiment of all sacrifice, in performing various kinds of Vedic sacrifices. Lord Balarama was now retired from warfare. Srila Prabhupada writes, Lord Balarama went to the holy place of pilgrimage, Naimisaranya. The sages, saintly persons, and brahmanas all stood up to receive him. They understood that Lord Balarama, all the Kshatriya, was now retired from the fighting business. This is after everything was done. The brahmanas and the sages, who were always for peace and tranquility, were very pleased at this. All of them embraced Balarama with great affection and induced him to perform various kinds of sacrifices in that secret spot of Naimisaranya, because he was suggested by the sages also to roam around and do some austerities. So he came to Naimisaranya, where he was well respected by all the sages. Actually, Lord Balarama had no business performing the sacrifices recommended for ordinary human beings. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore he himself is the enjoyer of all such sacrifices. As such, his exemplary action in performing sacrifices was only to give a lesson to the common man, to show one should abide by the injunctions of the Vedas. The all-powerful Lord Balarama bestowed upon the sages pure spiritual knowledge, by which they could see the whole universe within him and also see him pervading everything. After executing with his wife the Avarbhuta ablutions, the beautifully dressed and ornamented Lord Balarama, encircled by his immediate family and other relatives and friends, looked as splendid as the moon surrounded by its effulgent rays. Srila Prabhupada beautifully describes this scene as follows on the beautiful Balarama description. Lord Balarama then took the Abhirbhava bath, which is taken after finishing sacrificial performances. After taking his bath, he dressed himself in new silken garments and decorated himself with beautiful jewelry. Amidst his relatives and friends, he appeared to be a shining full moon amidst the luminaries in the sky. Just only 2-3 slokas translations. Countless other such pastimes were performed by mighty Balarama, the unlimited and immeasurable Supreme Lord, whose mystic yoga maya power makes him appear to be a human being. He has done abundant pastimes, countless pastimes, Lord Balarama. This is the last verse. All the activities of the unlimited Lord Balarama are amazing. Anyone who regularly remembers them at dawn and dusk will become very dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Vishnu. Srila Prabhupada writes, Lord Balarama is the original Vishnu. Therefore, anyone remembering these pastimes of Lord Balarama in the morning and evening will certainly become a great devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus his life will become successful in all respects. So this is the glorification of Sri Lord Balaram. So, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Okay, thank you. He is not there. Narada to stop the recording. Who will stop the recording? Then he dropped out.
Yeah, if you, I mean, you are the host, Mataji. If you exit, like automatically it should get recorded.
Okay, yes, corrected. I can stop the recording. So thank you, Vinil Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you so much for nice reading, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.